Joining me now from New York is Stephen Kyle. He's an associate professor at the S.C. Johnson College of Business at Cornell University. Stephen, the Labor Party leader Jeremy Corbyn got in a shot at Boris Johnson after Philip Lee defected from the Conservatives while he was speaking. Corbyn said Johnson's government is dangerous, reckless. He called it a government of cowardice with no mandate, no morals, and as of today, no majority. A stinging indictment. Just how dramatic was all of this today to see Lee defect and done in this manner, and of course the vote itself?
Well, it couldn't have been more dramatic. The government losing its majority in real time on television the way they did. I gotta say, though, from afar, which is where I look at this from, it is striking to me how cemented into their positions people are over a vote that took place 3 years ago. It is entirely possible, and in fact, I think most would agree, that quite a few people may have changed their minds since then, and that another election of some description is a good idea.
So a second referendum?
Sure. Well, that's what Labor would like it to be, because Jeremy Corbyn is not as appealing a platform to run on as being against Brexit. So Labor, of course, wants it to be a referendum on Brexit. Boris Johnson wants it to be an election between him and Jeremy Corbyn. They both think their chances are better if they get what they want.
And Boris Johnson threatening rebel MPs. You just heard Richard Bestick talking about it, including Winston Churchill's grandson. He's basically got this populist playbook, and kind of, it's the people against the politicians, kind of sort of the same sort of thing we've seen here in the United States with Donald Trump. Is that going to work?
Well, it only works if the people are with him, and they were by 52% 3 years ago. It's an open question whether they are now. I know what I would bet if they had another election. I don't think that the people are really for this. I think that some of the economic damage that is going to result from leaving the EU suddenly in this way was not made clear back 3 years ago. It was promised that there would be rainbows and flowers all along the path to Brexit. That isn't the case, which doesn't say that they shouldn't do it. What it says is that it's a political problem that should be decided by the people.
No rainbows and flowers, but what would a no-deal Brexit actually mean for the UK? What would it look like?
Well, half of the UK's international trade is with the European Union. That trade would suddenly be subject to tariffs and regulations and bureaucracy that, as of this moment, they don't have to deal with. So I'm not one who says that the sky will fall and it will all be a big disaster. However, that it will be a negative economic shock seems to me without question, and it would definitely impede the flow of trade. The Tories have said that they're all eager to make some new trade agreements with the United States and others, and that may ameliorate the problem to some extent. But those kinds of things take time, not just to come up with, but to have an effect. So the immediate impact is going to be negative in economic terms.
And speaking of that shock, the economic ramifications, I mean, we're seeing a lot of talk about a global slowdown. How might that play into that?
Well, certainly if there is a global slowdown, and I'm one who thinks that we are at or near the peak of the business cycle right now, a declining business cycle is not the time to impose another negative shock. This will make it less attractive to do this right now. And if they were to have another referendum, that will certainly be a consideration.
It's interesting. I've heard some analysts say that Boris Johnson says he doesn't want an election. Jeremy Corbyn says bring one on, when actually both of them want the opposite for the reasons you just pointed out. But I suspect you would say it's probably inevitable. Are we going to see an election next month?
Oh, I think so. I think we're going to see either another referendum or a full-on election. Boris Johnson wants it to be a full-on election where it's him against Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn wants it to be a referendum on Brexit, which he thinks he'll win, and probably he's right about that. So we'll see if Boris Johnson can maneuver what he wants. Today was not a good sign for him, though, I must say.
Yeah, more chapters to come. It's a very interesting story. We're thanking you for your analysis. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you.